All right. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump is set to make a stop right on the doorstep of AOC's district, where no Republican presidential candidate has won that district in 100 years. You know her from The Weekend Show, and she was out in the Bronx yesterday, just essentially taking the temperature of the neighborhood to see how people are going to receive former president.
Absolutely. I stood on a corner, walked up and down a street with our crew, and just talked to dozens of people. They're happy he's coming down. They want him to see what's going on. They want him to get a temperature. And that's the thing. You're seeing these polls that show Hispanics and African Americans moving towards Trump. It just feels like data.
Right.
You go into this, you go there, you actually talk to the people. It really brings it home. You really feel that the polls are right. And I think Donald Trump is going to be very pleasantly surprised by how welcomed he is in the South Bronx. Take a look.
Yeah, bro, they love him there. They do. Yeah. This one poll shows him within striking distance. Striking distance is like at least single digits. It's so awesome. Like, come on. They're already simultaneously gearing up for how they're going to say all of these guys are gay and they're all brown and they don't get it. But also they're like, but you know, Trump is very popular amongst the gays and the browns in the Bronx, you know? Come on, dude.
I see Democrats now coming out and they're like, oh, Trump is not welcomed here. Who are you?
I think he should definitely come to the neighborhood.
He should come. He should check out the people because, see, Trump is for the little man.
Donald Trump is coming to the Bronx. Are the other boroughs going to be jealous?
That's awesome. I think in this interview, they interviewed every single person that has voted for Trump in the Bronx. Virtually every, like when I say every single person, I'm not exaggerating. I think like literally every person that they could find that actually issued a vote to Donald Trump in 2016 or in 2020, they interviewed here, all of them. Someone said in the chat, I don't know if it's true. Someone said like he won 16% of the Bronx in 2020. Come on, dude.
I don't know, but I hope so. Trump is doing something that no one else has done. He's giving such a respect to the Bronx.
Before Trump, you know, it was not really considered. Like, would they really go into the Democratic strongholds? Would they really go into the poor neighborhoods?
One of the very important things that I wish the Republicans would understand is that even though you have, and you look at the registers and you see how many registered Democrats are in the Bronx, and you say 80, 90% are all Democrats, not all Democrats vote Democrat. I happen to be one of those Democrats that hasn't voted Democrat since the age of Ronald Reagan.
I've been intrigued by the impact of the trial of Donald Trump. And as a Hispanic myself.
Bro, then you're not a Democrat. What do you fucking mean? Like, that is the most insane. Bro, what are you saying? Let's see. Bronx, 15.6%. They literally asked every person they could find, bro. That's awesome. The median American voter is beyond human comprehension. Yeah, no, I love Americans talking about politics because like you get such a good snapshot of how fucking busted our system is. Yeah, I haven't voted for the Democratic Party since like the 80s, but I'm a registered Democrat. It's like, what are you saying? No, you're not. You've been voting Republican since before I was alive. You are not a Democrat. What are you fucking saying? Bro, she's been voting Republican before AOC was alive. Like, she said 4 decades without a shred of irony. For 4 decades, I've been voting reliably Republican as a Democrat. And it's like, okay, I don't know what to tell you then. That's just nutty.
Democrats that hasn't voted Democrat since the age of Ronald Reagan.
I've been intrigued by the impact of the trial of Donald Trump. And as a Hispanic myself, it looks familiar to a lot of things we've seen in Latin America.
Absolutely. I know a lot of friends of mine that are Cuban, and they're frustrated.
Yeah.
Cubans, you got Nicaraguans, they see this in their country. That's why they left.
I happen to be one that I'm still asking, what is he being charged with? What is he being charged with? I'm still trying to figure that out. And so I think it's not just me because, you know, we're not dummies, okay? Even though Democrats sometimes treat...
She's like, we're not dummies. Even though I just said I've been a Democrat my whole life. except for the past 40 years. I've been a Democrat since I was fucking an eligible voter. I've been voting Republican, which is why I'm a Democrat, but I'm not a dummy.
Treat us like we're dummies.
People that weren't interested in politics, now they're watching a sham trial. They're watching all these things happen, and they're just like, what is going on?
As a Hispanic, I gotta say, Trump being willing to stoop to ask brown people for money makes me feel really heard and understood. That's what I'm talking about, dude. It is symbolically important. I won't discount that. Okay, I do think that it's symbolically important for Trump to go to the Bronx. I think it's hilarious to act as though, you know, he has any kind of real fucking support out there. He doesn't. They're probably shipping motherfuckers in, as Chris Hayes correctly pointed out, from Westchester and Staten Island to just like go and do a show of force. Very sad to see they use socialism to scare off Hispanics to vote Republican. No, there's no motherfuckers would be like, I can't believe the unjustifiable kangaroo court in my country of Nicaragua, where I did unimaginable war crimes before flying on an American military plane to the United States of America. It's just like, okay, dude. Yeah, no, kangaroo court for you that you evaded specifically for being aligned with the American State Department. There are always going to be reactionary conservatives, oftentimes direct fascists, that have escaped into America after doing their fascism and losing.
And obsessed with the idea that he can actually win the state of New York here in November. And we should note that back in 2020, he lost the state of New York by 23 percentage points. Lee Zeldin in the governor's race against Kathy Hochul, he did lose by just 5 percentage points. And so for Donald Trump, he sees polling that indicates that he's able to make some inroads, particularly with black voters. He received a record number for black voters of 12% in the 2020 election, a record for a Republican nominee in recent decades. At the same time, polling is indicating, some polls up to 20% of black voters suggesting they could vote for Donald Trump. But this is where it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him, because there's a difference between dissatisfaction with Joe Biden now and a reality that 5 months from now we're in a very different place, and being dissatisfied with Joe Biden and voting for Donald Trump. There's a big gap that, frankly, history has not provided, even in recent elections, even in 2022 midterms.
And I'm not suggesting, by the way, Donald Trump's going to win New York. It's not going to happen, but it goes to a bigger issue for the Biden campaign. Donald Trump did 7 percentage points better in the Bronx in 2020 than he did in 2016. Biden did.
Yeah, 7 percentage points, as in went from 9 to 16, went from 9 points to 16 points. Please, if you do not mention that, what good are you as a political commentator? It's literally like, wow, they almost, yeah, she should have said Trump doubled his support. If the worst way to say that would have been Trump basically doubled his support in the Bronx from 2016 to 2020. Biden will lose. Seems our corporations and media want Trump to win and Biden to lose, increase their profits, forget the people. I mean, a second Biden term is not exactly spelling positive things for the American working class either. As always, as is the case almost always in American elections, how bad do you want things to be?
The real reason why Donald Trump is going to the Bronx is to say to the Democratic voters of the Bronx, has Joe Biden been here? Right? You all keep voting democratically, but I'm the one who's actually coming to visit you. Now, he's not saying it's because I got to stay close to home, which home is the court, but he's also trying to, I don't think he necessarily thinks he's going to get Black and Latino voters to vote for him. The strategy is to get them to abstain from voting for anyone on the top. And that's where it matters, not just in New York, it matters in places like Milwaukee, it matters in Detroit, places where Joe Biden has less favorability, but also we're in a moment where, as Vaughn said, we have some time, right? Joe Biden needs to make the case to Black and Latino voters, and I should say Black male voters. Black female voters tend to be completely immune to what the Republican Party is selling. But we always see Black male voters voting a little bit more for the Republican Party than Black female voters.
It's so marginal. It's like the only reason why it's important to recognize is because the Democratic Party's actions are so repulsive to many former demographics that would be like where it would be unconscionable to vote for anybody else. That's it. Anything outside of that, any way to make it seem like there's a pendulum swinging in the other direction is silly, because like people refuse to recognize that like the percentages that they're talking about are so minuscule. It's actually quite shocking that they don't talk more about another demographic that has actively been important to the Democratic Party winning elections in many places in the country, young voters. There, Trump is actually beating Biden, which is shocking. That actually is shocking. There are polls that keep showing that Donald Trump is performing better with young voters than Joe Biden. That part is legitimately shocking.